The dungeon has been generated. Its rank is 5 stars.
Don't get in my way.
Where is he? I'm certain he went this way. Impossible, don't tell me he cleared this area all by himself.
Master, which world are you previewing this time?
I'm looking to anodive into this world called Limit Breaker. When dungeons and monsters suddenly appear the world falls into chaos. Ki-Bong Kim, an ordinary young part-timer, has been sucked up into an awakening dimension. There they are put through tests to awaken the X gene in the human body to create the X-Men. But all kidding aside, Ki-Bong Kim just happens to be one of those chosen, and once he got his head in the game, his awakening is what any Dragon Ball fan would wish for. A Super Saiyan-like transformation that allows you to go ham on anyone placed before you.
Master, I have the anodiver up and ready for our departure into this world.
I witnessed the attack that brought down the celestial being at the hands of Kim Ki-Bong. His powerful strike left the once almighty creature a mere shell of its former self. As Ki-Bong returned to his normal state, Sis materialized next to him. In a surreal turn of events, Sis began to siphon or absorb the remnants of the celestial being into herself, a process that seemed to reunite them as fragments of a whole. However, the creature resisting assimilation launched a desperate attack against Sis. Undeterred, Sis, now the stronger entity, effortlessly repelled the assault, seizing the remaining essence of the being. Meanwhile, Ki-Bong, seemingly unfazed, unleashed the finishing blow that ended the celestial being's existence. The complexity of Sis's emotions during this process was beyond words, having transitioned from being a part of the being to replacing it entirely. Ki-Bong, however, paid little attention to the profound events around him as he reverted back to his usual state. Sis, understanding the weight of the moment, approached him with a congratulatory hug. Yet, Ki-Bong's mind was elsewhere. All he desired was to leave this place and return home. Sis, attuned to his wishes, opened a portal to transport him to his desired location. In an instant, Ki-Bong found himself back at the Seoul Capital Hospital where his mother laid in a comatose state. Despite saving the world, the stark reality remained. His heroic deeds hadn't changed his mother's condition. The bittersweet return emphasized the ongoing personal struggles, even in the aftermath of cosmic battles. Having anodive into this world, I sought a closer look at these events. I entered the hospital, allowing my presence to be felt by Sis.
I'm aware of your presence. You're one of those watchers. However, your presence here is unwarranted.
I witnessed the concluding moments of the battle. Why don't you share with me the events that transpired after Ki-Bong departed the trial room?
After he defeated a horde of beasts, a voice called out Ki-Bong's name, prompting him to turn around. In that moment, emotions long suppressed for 3,000 years surged within him, like a breaking dam. Before him stood his mother, and he rushed towards her, embracing her tightly as tears flowed freely. Amidst their reunion, marked by apologies for the absence of chicken, a surviving monster attacked Ki-Bong's mother. Ki-Bong, despite his powerful body, couldn't shield the one he loved, as his mother was speared by a surviving beast. June, witnessing how he effortlessly defeated the monsters, killed the survivor as Ki-Bong tended to his mother. His mother consoled him, expressing affection before losing consciousness. Overwhelmed with grief, Ki-Bong's mournful cry echoed. Ki-Bong then went on a killing spree for days before he stopped.
Wow, the combination of intense emotions like anger and grief can indeed fuel determination and resilience. Emotional states can have a profound impact on one's physical and mental abilities, sometimes pushing individuals beyond their normal limits. Ki-Bong's ability to channel these emotions might play a significant role in his ability to endure and continue to battle.
June found Ki-Bong during his monster-killing rampage. June empathized with Ki-Bong's desire to destroy monsters and dungeons, explaining the futility, as they would reappear again in time. Frustrated, Ki-Bong questioned whether enduring 3,000 years of agony, body breaking apart to dust, merely meant a return to his family. After their conversation, Ki-Bong walked away, but June offered help with his revenge in destroying the monsters and dungeons. She invited him to join the defense force, and in return, they will help his mother.
It's indeed a complex situation for Ki-Bong, as joining the government might seem like succumbing to leverage. However, sometimes individuals make such decisions when they believe it aligns with their larger goals or when they perceive a greater benefit, in this case, the potential to save his mother.
You make a valid point. Ki-Bong's unique abilities and potential could be seen as a valuable asset to his country, and the government might consider his departure a significant loss. In such cases, governments may indeed take measures to retain individuals with exceptional talents. While it may involve certain compromises, the goal is often to ensure that the country can benefit from their skills and capabilities for various purposes, including national security. This decision could be viewed as a pragmatic choice under these specific circumstances. It's fortunate that the person in charge has both a strong moral sense of responsibility and first-hand experience as a top player.
I agree.
6 months later, while visiting his unconscious mother, Ki-Bong informed her that he became a high-ranking public official. So, his busy schedule meant infrequent visits. He promised to return as much as possible. While preparing to head into a few dungeons, Ki-Bong's team ventured into a 5-star class dungeon known as the Monstrous Bird Nest. One of the team members conveyed to Ki-Bong that this was the final dungeon slated to break for the month. Ki-Bong swiftly commanded the group to stand by and proceeded to face the impending monster threat. Ki-Bong requesting me to locate the boss as he killed surrounding monsters. My scan identified the boss Albatross. Ki-Bong faced it while his team observed. They prepared to collect spirit stones as the dungeon entrance opened, and they were attacked by unknown people.
Is that one-sided ass-whooping still within the bounds of a PG-13 rating, or would it require a rating of teen or mature due to its intensity?
I've witnessed him unleash even greater power when consumed by rage. Hence, I would categorize this as suitable for a teen rating. It's noteworthy that thus far, no adversary has compelled Ki-Bong to utilize more than 50% of his body enhancement stateful power. A black sphere known as a Daystone emerged from the defeated monster. When Ki-Bong inquired about further details, I could only provide its name. However, I mentioned that if I were to absorb it, my systems would receive enhancements. Frustrated by the fact that most of my functions was offline, Ki-Bong sighed but agreed to let me absorb the Daystone to strengthen myself when I informed him of this fact. After absorption, I gained human analysis and emotion like expression functions. Ki-Bong, noticing others in the dungeon, appeared surprising them as he approaches this unknown group. Feeling their powerful aura, inquired if they were from the Shield Guild. Tensions rose, but Ki-Bong's attack was not personal. It was payback for attacking his team. Considered the strongest guild in South Korea, the Shield Guild faced defeat by Ki-Bong, who easily defeated them. Little did we anticipate the pettiness of the Shield Guild following their defeat, but I'll delve into that later. Ki-Bong found himself at Abyssal Beach, a 4-star dungeon engaged in his routine monster hunting. During the encounter with a whale-like creature, he discovered another Daystone. When he inquired for more details about the Daystone, I regretfully explained the impossibility due to being in offline mode, severed from the source, thus limiting my knowledge. Observing Ki-Bong's frustration, I unveiled the option for me to absorb the Daystone, elucidating the benefits, including a system upgrade and access to the dungeon source. After considering the proposal, Ki-Bong agreed to allow me to absorb the Daystone once again. After absorption, I went over some of my new functions with Ki-Bong, who seemed a bit more pleased. We departed the dungeon shortly thereafter. Landing on a rooftop, Ki-Bong requested me to locate the nearest bus stop. I surprised him by asking why he didn't fly. His response was, he felt someone following him. Ki-Bong suspected the Shield Guild, but couldn't sense any hostility. Ordering me to analyze the man failed, leaving Ki-Bong frustrated. The pursuer approached, sitting beside him with a smile. Boarding a bus, Ki-Bong chose not to engage, surprised to find the man already beside him. Ki-Bong reached the base, still followed by a mysterious man. Soldiers questioned if the man was his brother, but Ki-Bong denied any connection. Inside the base, Ki-Bong pondered the significance of the dungeon's source and decided to gather more Daystones for me. Changing attire, he noticed the mysterious man outside his window being pursued by soldiers. The soldiers at the base apprehended the mysterious man following Ki-Bong.
Most men would have freaked out at that scene, but Ki-Bong remained surprisingly calm, even in the face of this rather interesting situation.
Ki-Bong questioned the man's identity, learning that he emerged from the rift and expressing a desire to live with him. Despite the vice captain's warning, the mysterious man sought to become a soldier. The vice captain accepted the challenge, with the condition that the man must defeat him to join the team. The vice captain started a fight with the mysterious man. Ki-Bong intervened, introducing himself and learning the man's name was Kang Hwai. Ki-Bong warned the vice captain that Kang Hwai was not someone to fight, emphasizing the importance of analyzing an opponent's strength. The vice captain felt remorseful for lacking strength. Kang Hwai then asked Ki-Bong if his words were directed towards him. Ki-Bong confirmed and inquired if Kang Hwai still wanted to fight. Kang Hwai expressed his desire, a notion Ki-Bong's team found crazy. Kang Hwai initiated the attack against Ki-Bong, who effortlessly avoided it and landed a kick. However, Kang Hwai blocked the kick, surprising Ki-Bong. Undeterred, Ki-Bong continued his assault while questioning Kang Hwai's identity and purpose. Kang Hwai remained elusive, deeming it a secret. In response, Kang Hwai delivered a powerful kick that pushed Ki-Bong back, marking the first time he had been knocked back. Kang Hwai then unleashed an energy ball attack, deflected by Ki-Bong. When asked if it was magic, Kang Hwai confirmed its similarity to Ki and proceeded to launch multiple energy balls, astonishing the other team members. As Kang Hwai wondered if he had landed a hit, Ki-Bong appeared unharmed. However, Ki-Bong, angered by his damaged clothes, decided it was his turn to attack. Impressed, Kang Hwai forfeited the fight and jokingly suggested staying after winning against the vice captain. But Ki-Bong was not finished. So he punched Kang Hwai, knocking him out.
Ouch. Ki-Bong's finishing move landing on Kang Hwai was like Lord Beerus delivering a one-hit knockout in Dragon Ball Super.
A few days later, an emergency news report sounded the alarm of an impending danger, urging all people to head to nearby safe zones. The Air Force was dispatched to survey the area, which was on the verge of breaking and considered a forbidden zone. This self-made dungeon had been created by a red dragon 10 years ago. Ki-Bong and his team were assigned as the vanguard to buy time for the Prime Minister to gather the country's strongest guilds. However, shockingly, Ki-Bong's team was expelled when attempting to enter the dungeon, a situation unprecedented and unsettling. Kang Hwai, ever the one for a bit of humor, asked if it meant that only the two of them would be enjoying all the fun. But the atmosphere took a dark turn when Ki-Bong felt a surge of killing intent and swiftly switched to his enhanced state. What astonished both of us was that the attacker managed to land a blow on Ki-Bong, breaking a streak of invincibility he had held since leaving the trial zone.
What exactly transpired in the trial zone for Ki-Bong to become so powerful that he hasn't sustained any injuries since then?
After losing consciousness, Kim Ki-Bong found himself in a room, surprised to see his injuries miraculously gone. I welcomed him to the awakening area. Initiating the awakening test, a monster appeared, and I tasked him with attacking it. Frustration mounted as Ki-Bong deemed the quest impossible. The monster attacked, killing him, and a message announced his failure. Upon regeneration, he faced his previous corpse, triggering disgust. The cycle repeated. The monster reappeared. Panic set in, and Ki-Bong died again. In confusion, Ki-Bong questioned me about the entity communicating with him, the location, and the purpose of his presence. My response clarified his existence in the awakening test area for fair testing. Humans had transcendent potential, and once Ki-Bong landed a hit, the test would end, assuring him that dying had no lasting consequences. Despite doubt, Ki-Bong accepted his situation. Realizing he had no alternative, dodging the monster's attack, he successfully awakened, gaining a skill called body enhancement. Excitement turned to disappointment when error messages appeared, revealing an inability to leave due to an unknown error. The test restarted, and Ki-Bong faced the monster again. The cycle of death and regeneration continued for weeks, months, and eventually years. His mind deteriorated, yet his strength soared, from constant battles. Stats were in perpetual flux until Ki-Bong grew powerful enough to shatter the dimensional wall separating the trial zone from Earth. 10 years pass in Earth time. But for Ki-Bong, he was trapped for 3,000 years. Ki-Bong, bewildered by his sudden injury, faced Tarim, the Shield Guild's vice guild master, who expressed disappointment. Noticing Tarim's guild tattoo, Ki-Bong dismissed him, prioritizing the impending threat of the fire dragon. Tarim attacked, causing damage that led Ki-Bong to retaliate, destroying the surroundings but leaving himself kneeling in confusion. The battle ensued, with Ki-Bong continually taking damage. Tarim wielded a light dragon's fang, a potent weapon from a 7-star dungeon, lightweight, sharp, and enchanted with spells, including Reflect. I informed Ki-Bong about the weapon's reflectability, and he realized he was harming himself with his attacks. Despite injuries, Ki-Bong asked Tarim for the weapon, deeming it ideal for his subordinates. Surprised by Ki-Bong's resilience, Tarim witnessed Ki-Bong attributing his endurance to having more blood than others. I, however, pointed out that a significant portion of the damage was self-inflicted, teasingly laughing. Ki-Bong scolded me, calling the information useless. Infuriating Tarim, their clash continued, and Ki-Bong, boasting about his attack strength, decided to test the sword's reflect ability limits. The Light Dragon Fang's reflect spell provoked Ki-Bong to persist in attacking Tarim, who taunted him, confident that the weapon could deflect any physical assaults. Advised by Tarim to give up, Ki-Bong ignored the warning and continued his relentless assault. Eventually, the sword shattered, and Ki-Bong pummeled Tarim into the ground. Kang Hai witnessed Ki-Bong's victory, and the remaining shield members were left in surprise. Regretfully picking up the broken sword, Ki-Bong and Kang Wai discussed their priorities, with Ki-Bong emphasizing the imminent threat of the fire dragon. As the fire dragon's attack on the barrier intensified, the damage reached a critical 97%, putting the entire country in danger. Taking over communication with Seong-ryong, Ki-Bong requested further instructions, knowing the risk to his life. As they approached the fire dragon, Ki-Bong, despite his deteriorating health, remained determined, unwilling to leave due to the danger posed to his mother. As the dragon unleashed a fiery attack, Kang Wai used his shield to block it, impressing Ki-Bong. The dragon then focused on Ki-Bong, launching a series of attacks. Despite catching the dragon's tail and delivering powerful blows, Ki-Bong's health dropped dangerously low. Kang Wai intervened to block an incoming fire attack, showing his dedication. With Ki-Bong's health at 3%, he charged at the dragon, dodging its fiery breath. Noticing the dragon's attack heading towards the barrier, Kang Wai intercepted it, landing hard, but preventing further damage. Ki-Bong praised Kang Wai for his contribution before refocusing on defeating the fire dragon. Despite Ki-Bong's health at 3%, he charged towards the dragon, successfully defeating it and clearing the 8-star dungeon known as the Fire Dragon's Nest. As a reward, Ki-Bong obtained the unique skill First Dragon Slayer, increasing his damage against draconic monsters. I warned Ki-Bong about his critically low health, advising him to seek healing. However, Ki-Bong noticed the dragon's heart, an immense energy source, leading to an unexpected explosion of the fire dragon's body. The barrier suddenly disappeared, revealing the aftermath of the destruction. Seong-ryong called out for Ki-Bong, but instead found Kang Wai emerging from the rubble. When she inquired about Ki-Bong's whereabouts, Kang Wai pointed to where he was leaning against a wall. Approaching Ki-Bong, Seong-ryong commended him for a job well done. The vice guild master of the Shield Guild, Park Tarim, and his entourage were arrested by the Prime Minister for causing the Fire Dragon crisis. All members of the Shield Guild were set to be charged with treason. Ki-Bong asked about their meeting's purpose. Young-juna revealed they were there for a physical examination. Ki-Bong, at the time of enlistment, lacked the proper equipment to record his scores in the military's database. As a result, he remained relatively anonymous without an official rank.
Hold on a minute. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what just transpired. Those Shield Guild idiots have seriously messed things up. They put the entire country, maybe even the world, at risk just because they can't take no for an answer. It's infuriating. And to top it off, they ambush Ki-Bong, and when he hands their vice guild master a well-deserved beating, they just bail, not even bothering to respond to the call for help. What were they thinking? Trying to be the heroes after creating this mess? It's outrageous. Since they're players, the death sentence won't be given to them. However, I found myself captivated by a specific idea you brought up. Is it within the realm of possibility to measure Ki-Bong's strength?
In human terms, it's hard to say. In anime terms, Ki-Bong would be akin to a transcendent Super Saiyan. Yoon clarified the true purpose behind attempting to measure Ki-Bong's power. She revealed that 3 A-class or higher players were required to activate the dungeon, but it wasn't deemed an emergency, limiting the recruitment of many players. She also highlighted the risk of involving a large guild, as it could potentially lead to the leakage of confidential information. Ki-Bong deduced that Yui must be considered trustworthy enough to join him on this mission. Yon affirmed the trustworthiness of the third member, emphasizing their proximity to the Prime Minister, and assured Ki-Bong that all team members could be relied upon. Kangwai expressed his eagerness to join the mission, but Ki-Bong pointed out the limitation of only having 3 people inside at a time, despite the counter in the dungeon barrier. Kangwai persisted in his desire to be the third member. Shortly after, Yui, who was live streaming, and Cheon Yuban, the leader of the Warang Guild, arrived. Yui introduced herself to Ki-Bong, and Yuban mentioned he was one of the first people to awaken a decade ago, when dungeons first appeared, fought alongside Prime Minister Guseongrion, becoming one of the heroes who helped save the country. Ki-Bong introduced himself to Yui and Yuban, and shook hands with them while Yui documented their progress with her stream. She mentioned that they would be entering a 6-star dungeon named Moth Chamber. Although it was Yui's first time entering a 6-star dungeon, she expressed confidence in being with 2 strong players. Yui also informed her viewers that streaming inside the dungeon is not possible, and ended the stream. They asked if he already knew the details from Ji-yoon. Ki-Bong confirmed that he did. Ki-Bong remembered Ji-yoon's instruction that he must retrieve the Daystone. Ki-Bong and the team prepared to enter the dungeon. Kang-wai was instructed to return to headquarters once inside. Yui set up another camera to document their progress. However, after exploring for a while, Yuban found it strange that they had not encountered any monsters yet. Typically, there would be flying monsters at the beginning of the dungeon. Yui suggested that the absence of monsters could be a good thing, allowing them to focus on subjugating the boss monster. Yui showed no concern about the absence of monsters, pointing out that Ki-Bong had cleared an 8-star dungeon before. They continued exploring, but Ki-Bong noticed it was getting dark quickly. Yui explained that it's due to the Moth Chamber's environment. Yubian suggested camping for the night, as it takes 3 days to clear the dungeon. Yui created a campfire using her magic. After resting, we continued our dungeon exploration, and Ki-Bong asked me to locate the monsters. Eventually, I reported that there were no monsters within 3 kilometers. Ki-Bong told the team that there were no monsters within 3 kilometers and suggested they speed up. Yui agreed to quicken their pace and rushed forward, followed by Yuban. Ki-Bong knew matching their speed would take too long, so he activated his skill and went ahead. Ki-Bong requested that I locate the Daystone, and we headed straight towards the location I pointed out. However, when we arrived, we saw the stone, but 100 monsters suddenly appeared and attacked us as we tried to approach the stone. Yui and Yubin witnessed the explosion and hurriedly made their way to the site. They found Ki-Bong had already defeated the monsters. Yubin was amazed by Ki-Bong's incredible strength, especially as the battle was over in less than 5 minutes. As they approached the Daystone, they discovered that there was a barrier around it. Ki-Bong instructed them to step back and destroyed it with a single punch. They then closed in on the Daystone, and I asked Ki-Bong if he wanted me to absorb it, but he refused. When Ki-Bong touched the stone, we were enveloped in a dark substance.
It appears that the Daystone might have been a trap strategically set for intruders. Alternatively, considering its properties, it could function as a portkey, akin to the concept in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, transporting individuals to an unexpected location or triggering a specific event upon interaction. The mysterious nature of the Daystone raises intriguing possibilities regarding its purpose and the intentions behind its inclusion in the dungeon.
Ki-Bong asked me about our location, and I informed him that they were in a nameless, unranked dungeon. I speculated that they were brought there because of the Daystone, but I was not certain. I suggested that absorbing the Daystone, we might be able to determine why we were brought there, but Ki-Bong refused. Ki-Bong admits that he was not paying attention and got himself into a troublesome situation. He now thinks that his priority is to deal with the current situation and leave the place as soon as possible. Ki-Bong defeats the monsters easily, but was concerned about Yui and Yuban after seeing the monsters were difficult to deal with. He then asked me to find their location, and I showed him a map and their location. I informed Ki-Bong that a battle was occurring and estimated he would reach them in 30 minutes if he took the shortest route through the cave-like dungeon. However, Ki-Bong thought it was too long and decided to smash through the walls. I then informed Ki-Bong that he would arrive at their location in just 1 minute. When Ki-Bong appeared, he immediately destroyed the monster. He was relieved to see Yui and Ubin were safe. They inspected the corpse and discovered a Daystone's energy within the monster's body. However, Ki-Bong asked me to absorb the energy. After absorbing the energy, the monster disintegrated as I informed him that I sensed a dungeon boss and a fragment of filthy energy behind a wall. Ki-Bong smashed the walls and advanced forward. The two followed inside and found the boss monster. They were taken aback to discover that the boss monster was already on the verge of death. I then stated to Ki-Bong that the boss was incapacitated and appeared to be requesting to be killed. Ki-Bong asked me if I could sense the boss monster's emotions and was surprised to learn that I could feel its rage, sorrow, fear, and resignation. He found it odd that the monster would ask for its own death. Yui discovered that a magic circle of restraint was used to hold the boss monster, which could only be activated by an S-rank hunter. Meanwhile, Ubin observed that the monster had been cut open and its organs removed, indicating that it had been used for its useful parts before being left to die. Yui agreed and concluded that they were in an artificial dungeon created by someone. Ubin expressed his shock at the possibility of someone conducting experiments on monsters. Meanwhile, Ki-Bong thought that such a situation was not entirely unexpected, as they were also conducting experiments on the remains of a fire dragon in South Korea. He realized that they needed to leave the dungeon quickly to avoid any danger. Ki-Bong instructed me to absorb the energy from the dying boss monster, causing it to disintegrate and revealing the exit. As they left, Ki-Bong promised to explain everything, but they needed to get out of the dungeon first. Outside, they were met by Ji-yoon, who informed them that they had been inside the dungeon for 2 months, which shocked them. Ki-Bong asked me to confirm, and I verified that it was true. Seong-ryong was relieved to see them safe. Yui and Ubin were told to rest, and that the recording would stay classified, taking Yui's camera to copy the content and delete the original file. After the two left, Ki-Bong showed the Daystone to Seong-ryong, who praised him for his work and wondered about the limits of his strength. Ki-Bong humbly replied, and Seong-ryong expressed her belief that possessing the Daystone would help humanity move closer to the end of the monster phenomenon. Ki-Bong exited the building and saw Kang Hwai and his team waiting for him in a ragged state. I informed Ki-Bong that his team had all been awakened as players, but detected an unknown power that didn't belong to players, similar to Kang Hwai. Ki-Bong was surprised, and the team saluted him. Ki-Bong praised them for their hard work while he was away, and Kang Hwai cheered from being praised by Ki-Bong. The vice captain explained what happened while Ki-Bong was away.
Hold on, let me make sure I understand this correctly. Are you saying that the team Ki-Bong has been leading isn't composed of other players, but regular soldiers? If that's the case, it changes the perspective. It wasn't Ki-Bong's power going to his head, but rather the team's limitations in providing active assistance. Were they there mainly for recording or monitoring his movements? No wonder they faced challenges. Now, about Kang Hwai's energy signature being different from other players, does this imply that his power comes from a distinct source compared to the usual players?
Well, yes and no. Humans, in essence, already have the potential to become players. They just happen to awaken outside the trial area that all other players, even Ki-Bong, had to go through to awaken. You could say they are natural awakened players. Despite not having player status, Ki-Bong never regarded them as deadweights or sacrificial pawns. There were instances where they prioritized leading civilians to safety while Ki-Bong dealt with the monsters. However, with Ki-Bong gone for 2 months and the incident with the Shield Guild, his team wanted to contribute more actively, taking a gamble that Kang Hwai might have a way for them to be of significant help.
He does come across as that kind of individual. So, is it a regular occurrence for dungeons to contain other dungeons, or is it conceivable for humans to construct their own dungeons? If the latter is true, it opens up the possibility of governments establishing secret bases within dungeons, refraining from clearing them and merely preventing their breach into the public sphere. This situation has the potential to escalate into an international incident. However, with the recent success of the latest mission, it's likely that those operating in the shadows won't react favorably to the acquisition of a power source as potent as a Daystone.
Ki-Bong's team achieved a resounding victory over the monsters without needing his personal intervention, a feat that even left Ki-Bong himself impressed. He commended Kang Hwai for a job well done, and estimated that they could manage low-ranked dungeon breaches without his direct involvement. However, their plans took an unexpected turn when they received immediate orders to convene at headquarters. The reason for the sudden summons was the theft of the fire dragon's remains. At the meeting, high-ranking officials, including generals, government security personnel, and Captain Kim Ki-Bong, gathered to address the perplexing case of the stolen fire dragon's corpse. It was revealed that the Shield Guild's master possessed an exceptionally potent deception magic, enabling her to enter the country covertly. Seong-ryong inquired about the current whereabouts of the stolen fire dragon's remains, and was informed that they were still analyzing the CCTV footage. Seong-ryong suggested exploring alternative sources of surveillance. Some meeting participants emphasized the urgency of recovering the fire dragon's remains, fearing they might be taken out of the country. The value of the fire dragon's remains was deemed immeasurable, due to no country or organization officially clearing an 8-star dungeon before. To address the concern of Ki-Bong facing the Shield Guild's master alone, Seong-ryong introduced an agent named Gujue to work alongside him. Gujue's sudden appearance surprised some attendees, and the director questioned Seong-ryong's decision to call her back without prior notice. Seong-ryong explained the urgency of the situation and the need for Gujue's expertise. While some doubted Gujue's ability to assist Ki-Bong, the director reminded them of an agent called Tamer, who had successfully evacuated Seongdam citizens during the Battle of Seongnam without any casualties. It was revealed that Tamer was an 18-year-old Gujue. Gujue considered the most experienced agent in the National Intelligence Service, working under her real name. After the meeting, Kang Wai expressed frustration at not being part of Kim Ki-Bong's next mission. Jige approached them, and Kang Wai noticed something unusual about her. As the conversation progressed, it became evident that Jige was well informed about him, leaving both Kang Wai and Ki-Bong baffled. We later received news of a prison break from the only player prison in South Korea. Upon this revelation, Ki-Bong and Gujue swiftly made their way to the desolate ruins of the prison. I promptly notified Ki-Bong that there were no survivors inside. Fueled by curiosity and determination, Ki-Bong decided to venture into the ruins for a closer investigation. As Ki-Bong and Gujue explored the prison's grim remnants, they stumbled upon the grim scene of both soldiers and players who had met a tragic fate. Gujue, in possession of a rare and extraordinary ability that allowed her to communicate with animals and plants, was known as a tamer, a skill that was incredibly unique even among players. To aid in their search, Gujue summoned a group of rats, an act that surprised Ki-Bong. He couldn't help but wonder about Gujue's remarkable capabilities. Curious about Gujue's actions, I informed Ki-Bong that she was communicating with the animals, allowing her to forge connections with the natural world around her. Seong-ryong assigned Ki-Bong to collaborate with the National Intelligence Agency. Meanwhile, Kang Wai and the rest of the team were tasked with the mission to track down the stolen remains of the fire dragon. Gujue skillfully employed her avian companions to pinpoint the Shield Guild's location. Ki-Bong seized the opportunity to inquire about the guild's master. Gujue provided a chilling description of the master, characterizing her as a formidable figure who had awakened early and possessed unparalleled strength, coupled with a ruthless nature. Gujue further disclosed that the Shield Guild's master didn't hesitate to sacrifice civilians in her relentless pursuit of power and the annihilation of monsters. Ki-Bong and Gujue eventually reached the Shield Guild's location. With my assistance, Ki-Bong devised a strategy to minimize casualties and gather crucial information. He proposed a coordinated assault from the right side of the location. They initiated this plan, and upon entering the warehouse, they encountered immediate resistance from the 2 guards stationed there. Gujue summoned a cat that swiftly quelled the guards' aggression, and the team converged with Urum and Tarim.
Wait a minute, hold on. This is starting to sound like something out of Looney Tunes or some kind of comedic skit. Are you seriously telling me that this everyday alley cat is what's being summoned by a tamer? I thought in these stories tamers would conjure majestic, powerful creatures for combat, not an average house cat. And to top it off, this supposedly ordinary cat managed to beat a grown man through a wall and into their secret hideout. I mean, this sounds almost too absurd to believe. It's like the phrase pussy whip just got a whole new, bizarre meaning. But this does make for a good entrance with them coming out of nowhere like, that cat is bigger than the 2 of them.
Urum brandished a return stone. In an attempt to thwart her, Gujue commanded her cat to attack, intending to halt Urum. However, to their astonishment, two of Urum's associates underwent a transformation into monstrous beings. They easily overcame Gujue's cat, leaving Ki-Bong with a nagging sense of familiarity with these creatures, as they resembled the monsters they had previously encountered in the dungeon. Urum challenged them to try and stop her if they could defeat the monsters, leading to a confrontation. The two monstrous entities launched an assault, but Ki-Bong swiftly intervened. He then set his sights on Urum, who was in the process of activating the return stone. Ki-Bong unleashed a relentless attack, ultimately breaking through Urum's protective barrier. Despite her desperate struggle, Urum and Tarum managed to escape using the return stone. Gujue, on the other hand, harbored suspicions that the adversaries were hatching a clandestine plan. Gujue conveyed her certainty that Urum would not go down without a fight, and they both suspected that the individuals responsible for stealing the fire dragon's corpse were affiliated with the Shield Guild. Ki-Bong raised questions about why Urum hadn't taken the corpse abroad yet, prompting Gujue to explain the impossibility of teleporting the fire dragon's remains across borders due to its unique magical properties. Ki-Bong mulled over the purpose behind the stolen dragon's corpse and recollected the humanoid monsters they had encountered. Kang Wai got in touch with Ki-Bong and informed him that they had discovered the thieves' whereabouts. Ki-Bong requested to speak with the vice captain, who revealed that they were en route. Ki-Bong decided to join them. However, their mission was swiftly disrupted by the sudden appearance of a reanimated monster corpse. Without hesitation, Ki-Bong took swift action, obliterating the threat. He then carried Gujue to their next location that was a few miles away. Upon landing, where she expressed her relief at their prompt arrival using Ki-Bong Airlines, I intervened to provide crucial information to Ki-Bong. I reported a magical anomaly and widespread deception magic enveloping the city, confirming the presence of Park Urum. Furthermore, I conveyed that Ki-Bong had developed immunity to status conditions. As they moved further into the city, Gujue began to notice tiny particles in the air, prompting her to consume an immunity potion to fortify herself against enemy magical attacks. Meanwhile, the city's inhabitants were undergoing a bizarre transformation into human monsters, a phenomenon I was asked to analyze. I determined that they had fallen victim to an unidentified form of magic, and explained that eliminating the source could halt this process. Gujue inquired whether they should engage with the afflicted individuals, but Ki-Bong insisted on avoiding unnecessary conflicts, recognizing that they were still essentially human. Speed was their priority. Thus, Ki-Bong instructed me to locate the origin of the magic. I recommended seeking higher ground, as the inhibitory magic seemed to grow stronger with elevation. Ki-Bong left Gujue behind and rapidly ascended a tall building, where he faced a formidable assault from humanoid monsters. Although the creatures aimed to exploit their numerical advantage, Ki-Bong's prowess allowed him to vanquish them with ease. Once atop the building, Ki-Bong requested my assistance in pinpointing the magic's origin and Park Urum's whereabouts. After some time, I successfully identified the source of the monstrous transformation magic, consisting of a central device and 4 auxiliary supply units. However, I cautioned Ki-Bong that the main device could only be destroyed if all 4 auxiliary supplies were simultaneously dismantled. Otherwise, they would regenerate automatically. This revelation left Ki-Bong visibly frustrated. I also reported that there were individuals within the city who remained unaffected by the magic. Ki-Bong returned to UA with a solution in hand, and we immediately set off to gather the other unaffected teams. Ki-Bong's arrival with UA was timely, and to our pleasant surprise, all the teams we needed to locate were already assembled, showing relief and delight upon seeing us. Ki-Bong took charge and laid out the plan to defeat the enemies and rescue the citizens by simultaneously taking down the mana supply towers strategically positioned throughout the city. Kang Wai and the vice captain were assigned to Sector 1, UA to Sector 2, Yuban to Sector 3, and Yui to the 4th sector. I emphasized to Ki-Bong the importance of destroying the mana supply within a 30-second window to prevent regeneration. Ki-Bong set a strict deadline for the group, specifying that they needed to eliminate the magic source precisely at 2:30, and then every 3 minutes thereafter, to prevent any potential regeneration. With words of encouragement and wishes of good luck, the teams dispersed to their respective designated locations to execute the plan. Ki-Bong encountered a group of monsters blocking his path and swiftly began eliminating them. However, he then unexpectedly encountered Park Tarim. Ki-Bong questioned if he intended to obstruct him without possessing the White Dragon sword. Tarim, realizing that he had no real chance of winning this confrontation, initially reached for a drug to perhaps level the playing field. However, he had a change of heart and chose not to use it. Tarim explained that his sister was in the vicinity and, despite the dire circumstances, couldn't just let Ki-Bong go despite the situation. Tarim boldly initiated an attack on Ki-Bong, but Ki-Bong's agility and combat prowess allowed him to effortlessly dodge and block Tarim's strikes. Ki-Bong responded with a swift and powerful kick that sent Tarim flying through the air. This pattern of attacks and counterattacks played out several times, leaving Tarim struggling to regain his footing. Yet no matter how many times Ki-Bong put him down, he kept getting back up. During a brief pause in their intense exchange, Ki-Bong questioned Tarim's choice of not becoming a monster, a decision that seemed to put him at a significant disadvantage. Tarim, despite his difficult circumstances, maintained his sense of pride and replied that he wouldn't sacrifice it. Ki-Bong reminded him that mere pride wouldn't be enough to shield those he cared about. With a heavy, deliberate stomp, Ki-Bong incapacitated Tarim, bringing an end to the confrontation.
Tarim's encounter with Ki-Bong seems to have had a profound impact on him, but did Ki-Bong even move before deciding to end the fight? If so, he was really looking down on the guy, but still, it's evident that their first encounter had a significant effect on Tarim. Now what surprised me the most was his decision not to take shortcuts at the cost of his own humanity. Demonstrates character growth and reflects his newfound sense of responsibility and integrity. This could very well mark the beginning of Tarim's journey towards redemption and personal growth, as he begins to make choices that align with a more ethical and honorable path. It will be interesting to see how his character continues to evolve.
Your perspective on Tarim's character is insightful. It's quite common for people to have complex motivations and backgrounds that make them appear antagonistic, but upon closer examination, they may be driven by loyalty, a sense of duty, or a lack of alternative options. In Tarim's case, it's possible that he was following orders or acting in the service of his powerful older sister, Park Yurim. This nuance in character can raise questions about the nature of good and evil, the impact of external influences, and the potential for redemption and personal growth. But after the fight, Ki-Bong wasted no time and quickly departed, heading towards Park Yurim's location with a clear sense of determination and purpose. Yurim displayed annoyance towards Ki-Bong, but exuded confidence, believing that Ki-Bong was not her match. She then took control of the people below, with the intention of luring them towards Ki-Bong to test whether he would harm innocent civilians. As Ki-Bong approached the building, he noticed the infected individuals gathered there. Yurim launched an attack towards Ki-Bong, but I warned him that dodging it could put the civilians in danger. I recommended that he block the attack, and Ki-Bong successfully nullified Yurim's assault. However, her attack persisted, narrowly missing her and escalating her fury. Yurim jumped down, landing amidst the civilians, and confronted Ki-Bong. She accused him of arrogance for causing chaos in her absence. In response, Ki-Bong made a heartfelt request for Yurim not to surrender, but she laughed it off and dismissed the idea. Yurim then sprouted wings and asserted that facing her would lead to Ki-Bong's defeat. She proceeded to instruct the infected people to attack Ki-Bong. As the infected individuals charged towards Ki-Bong, he deployed the Dragon Fear skill, causing them to flee in fear. Yurim, in contrast, fell to her knees in fear. Ki-Bong reminded her not to give up before she rose into the air and attacked him with magic. However, Ki-Bong easily blocked and evaded her magical assaults. Yurim tried another spell, which Ki-Bong also deftly evaded. Frustrated by having her skills mocked, Yurim unleashed the Death Laser skill. While Ki-Bong managed to dodge most of the beams, he eventually got hit. To Yurim's delight, Ki-Bong emerged unscathed after resisting the abnormal status effect and immediately charged towards her. Yurim launched multiple attacks at Ki-Bong, but his remarkable resistance made him impervious to her assaults. The two clashed fiercely, and Yurim's arm transformed into a monstrous appendage. Nevertheless, Ki-Bong's counterattack destroyed it, causing her to crash to the ground. As Ki-Bong approached her, Yurim sensed a look of pity in his eyes and responded by launching another attack against him. Yurim found herself being overpowered by Ki-Bong as she was thrown around, gripped by the neck. In this dire situation, Ki-Bong emphasized that she needed to take responsibility for her actions, regardless of the motives behind them. He sternly warned Urim that he would subject her to the most excruciating suffering imaginable. Urim, once a figure of fear and power, struggled to come to terms with how effortlessly Ki-Bong dominated her. She found it difficult to accept her own helplessness in the face of Ki-Bong's overwhelmingly unfair strength. Ki-Bong pressed on with his attack against Urim, but she managed to evade him and made her way toward a mysterious device. Ki-Bong chased after her, but it was too late. Urim had already initiated the absorption of the fire dragon's powers. In a blinding explosion of light, Urim underwent a dramatic transformation. With her newfound abilities, Urim expressed her satisfaction of the extraordinary power she had acquired. She boldly declared herself to be even stronger than the fire dragon, asserting herself as the harbinger of the apocalypse. However, Ki-Bong received a crucial warning from me that a draconian had appeared, whose strength defied measurement. This new revelation injected a significant level of uncertainty and danger into the unfolding events.
We're diving into Ki-Bong and Urim's first showdown. Every pulse-pounding moment was like a symphony of power in a dance. This battle hit closer to home for Ki-Bong as it was more than just a clash. It was a release of pent-up emotions. The Shield Guild's negligence had consequences, so when he went head-to-head with Urim, it was personal. A one-sided fight fueled by Ki-Bong's pent-up anger and frustration. Ki-Bong fought, not just for victory, but to right a wrong, to make them feel the pain he felt because of the guild's negligence.
Becoming even mightier than the fire dragon, Urim prepared a potent attack, echoing Ki-Bong's counsel not to yield. However, Ki-Bong, amused by Urim's warnings, deftly countered her multiple spells, undeterred in his advance. Charging forward, he dispelled the attacks while activating his Dragon Slayer skill to intensify damage against draconic monsters. With a powerful swing, Ki-Bong's fist struck Urim, propelling her through several buildings in a fiery explosion of power. As Urim disappeared from sight, Ki-Bong inquired about her whereabouts, but I failed to detect a draconian signal. Instead, I disclosed Urim's perilous state as it was on the brink of death. Determined to finish the battle, I warned Ki-Bong about the time and advised him to prioritize destroying the machine. Trusting his comrades, Ki-Bong patiently awaited the designated time before obliterating the device, a success mirrored by the rest of the team. As the mission concluded, the skies returned to their normal state. Following my directions, Ki-Bong proceeded towards the location where I indicated Urim's body had landed, informed that 2 more life forces were converging there. We arrived just as Urim's remains dispersed in the wind. Ki-Bong intervened when James attempted to utilize a returned stone, insisting on obtaining the item taken from Urim. A tense exchange ensued, with Ki-Bong rejecting James's offer to join Hype, a new world order, and instead threatening its destruction. Seizing James by the neck, Ki-Bong instilled panic as James realized his inability to activate his skill. James warned Ki-Bong would regret refusing advice. In his office, their leader encountered a portal opening, revealing Ki-Bong holding James. Ki-Bong, contemplating what to do with the mysterious man, issued a threat. In response, the man taunted Ki-Bong, claiming that the younger generation lacked discipline. Undeterred, Ki-Bong warned him that even if he hid, he would find and dismantle his organization. The man laughed and disclosed his location, inviting Ki-Bong to confront him. Later, Ki-Bong, alongside the Prime Minister, was summoned to the President's office to discuss recent events and plans for countering the growing threat of Hype. Ki-Bong proposed pulling out their roots, and the President agreed. Despite initial opposition, Ki-Bong was removed from the Dungeon Special Forces but granted an even higher rank and permission to assemble an elite team dedicated to eradicating Hype at all costs. The Prime Minister eventually supported this decision, recognizing the severity of the situation. Assembling his newly formed team and contending with increasing global recognition, Ki-Bong faces the challenge of operating discreetly due to his potent abilities. The team collaborates to devise strategies countering potential interference from agents attempting to obstruct Ki-Bong's entry and monitor their movement. Despite meticulous planning, including diversions and 2 cars, agents at the airport realize Ki-Bong is absent from the group. Simultaneously, Ki-Bong unexpectedly emerges at a live press conference, drawing attention away. Unbeknownst to the agents, the real Ki-Bong cleverly uses his team as bait, misleading the spies monitoring their activities. Flying independently overseas towards Hong Kong, he successfully evades any pursuit. In the vibrant city of Hong Kong, Ki-Bong's group engages in a meticulous analysis of pictures, affirming their origin at a singular location. Meanwhile, Yuban concludes his scouting mission, returning with a captured man who unveils startling information about a peculiar individual with the ability to transform into a monster within their organization. With newfound leads, the team decides to split into two groups to pursue these promising trails. During their exploration, a chance discovery leads them to what appears to be a dungeon entrance, nestled in an alley. Driven by curiosity and the need for answers, Ki-Bong takes the initiative to investigate, only to find himself unexpectedly transported inside the mysterious dungeon. An explosion triggers Ki-Bong's curiosity, prompting him to investigate and leading to a confrontation facing off against a skilled spearman who challenges him to a duel with the condition that the victor gets to pose the questions. Reluctantly accepting the challenge, Ki-Bong activates his body enhancement skill, elevating his physical abilities. The clash intensifies as both Ki-Bong and the spearman unleash their respective skills, creating a dynamic battlefield. Despite the challenges posed by the formidable spearman, Ki-Bong showcases his exceptional combat proficiency by deftly deflecting attacks and surprising his adversary with both strength and skill. The spearman, duly impressed by Ki-Bong's prowess, persistently engages in the battle, striving to gain the upper hand. Ki-Bong's strategic maneuvers and powerful strikes underscore his mastery in combat. As the fight progresses, the spearman concedes to Ki-Bong's overwhelming strength, acknowledging that Ki-Bong surpasses even his own master in power. Ki-Bong leverages his skills and agility to overpower the spearman. With a commanding punch, Ki-Bong sends his adversary flying and confronts him, posing the pivotal question, "Are you ready to talk?"
He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. It seems this spearman understood the art of discretion, wisely choosing to retreat while the opportunity is favorable.
The man sealed the instant dungeon, isolating Ki-Bong. I promptly informed Ki-Bong, who effortlessly tore through dimensions creating his own exit, and returned to our reality. Despite rejoining alone, Ki-Bong remained unfazed while acknowledging the 3-hour time difference between the instant dungeon and reality. I was instructed to locate his team members. After identifying Ubin and Kangwai's positions, I detected a unique item made from pure day stone on top of the sought-after individual in the same vicinity. Ki-Bong urgently sought details on the exact location, to which I promptly responded.
So, is the leader of Hype some OP powerhouse like Ki-Bong, or are they just casually looking down on him as he does the world itself? Knowing that Ki-Bong is in the city, my man is still running the business as usual.
Narrowly missing the head of Hype, a cloaked figure remained in his absence. The hooded man chuckled, admitting he was searching for someone forbidden. His magical attempt on Ki-Bong proved futile, leaving Ki-Bong unscathed. Ki-Bong, with a discerning gaze, remarked that the hooded man was inferior to Park Yurum. Confusion clouded the hooded man as he grappled with the realization that Ki-Bong had thwarted his sorcery. Taken aback for only a moment, the hooded man had his underlings attacked Ki-Bong, but in response, Ki-Bong unleashed Dragon's Fear, causing the assailants to scatter. Perplexed by a mere human wielding such power, the hooded man challenged Ki-Bong to withstand his next assault, attempting to assail Ki-Bong with flame magic. I warned Ki-Bong that his adversary was out of sync with reality's time like himself. Surprised by this revelation, Ki-Bong decided to restrain and interrogate the hooded man by effortlessly nullifying an incoming spell with a swift kick. Recognizing the changing tide, the hooded man shifted tactics, summoning homunculi monsters. Although devoid of life force, Ki-Bong sensed a lingering humanity, prompting me to suggest putting them to rest. Ki-Bong obliterated the homunculi, nearing taking out the hooded man along with his attack.
This character must be a real powerhouse, and during the tutorial trials for an unknown stretch, Ki-Bong's got a challenge on his hands, something a bit more than his usual adversaries.
Well, there is an entity that did push Ki-Bong to use 100% of his full power, but I haven't spilled all the details yet.
My money's on a showdown with the head of Hype, the tipping point that made him go all in.
It's a yes and no kind of situation. But, as I was saying, Ki-Bong overpowered the hooded man, backing him into a corner, not heeding my warnings not to underestimate him as the man created an instant dungeon, forcefully pulling Ki-Bong inside. I informed Ki-Bong of his powers were now limited within the dungeon, while he skillfully evaded a fire spell attack from his blind spot, prompting the hooded man to boast about his long and noble life in a place beyond Ki-Bong's understanding. Removing his hood, the man revealed his face. Inquiring about the tutorial space, Ki-Bong learned that the man had been trapped there for 200 years, facing the horrors of solitude without signs of life or tutorial monsters. Uninterested, Ki-Bong's indifferent expression enraged the man. In a burst of frustration, the man summoned meteors, attempting to rain them down upon Ki-Bong. However, Ki-Bong mocked the man as a child despite his claimed 200 years of suffering. Puzzled when the meteors didn't hit him, the man's ploy transformed them into monsters upon reaching the ground. Boasting that these monsters constituted his legion, the man ordered them to attack. Yet, Ki-Bong effortlessly obliterated the oncoming monsters with a simple punch, overpowering the remaining ones with ease as it only took one strike to break each golem-like creature. Undeterred, the hooded man remained calm, using his wand to manipulate the pieces of the monsters, causing them to converge around Ki-Bong. Trapped in the center, the cluster exploded in a spectacular display. However, the hooded man, seemingly satisfied, turned to exit the dungeon. To his surprise, he sensed something amiss and discovered Ki-Bong still standing, defying his expectations. Assuming Ki-Bong was badly injured, the hooded man unleashed a massive monster in a desperate final attempt to end the fight. Much to his terror, Ki-Bong effortlessly destroyed the creature, leaving the hooded man bewildered and unable to comprehend how Ki-Bong could still be alive. In his realm, he should be the sole possessor of full strength, and this unexpected turn of events enraged him. Boasting his godlike status, he resorted to a final drastic move, revealing an 8-star dungeon rank Fire Spirit King. However, Ki-Bong remained unimpressed as the Spirit King unleashed a formidable flame, which failed to harm him. In response, Ki-Bong launched a devastating attack, causing substantial damage to the Spirit King. Enraged by Ki-Bong's strength, the Spirit King absorbed the surrounding life force, unleashing pent-up energy in a powerful explosion. Unfazed, Ki-Bong dealt the Spirit King a fatal blow, concluding the intense battle. In his final moments, the hooded man realized the truth. Ki-Bong had spent more time in the tutorial area, leading to his defeat. With his dying breath, he acknowledged Ki-Bong as an old monster. The dungeon instantly closed, seamlessly returning us to reality. Once freed and back in our realm, Ki-Bong stumbled upon an unidentified object, a container holding a humanoid figure. Upon examination, I revealed it was a dungeon humanoid that Ki-Bong could use. I informed Ki-Bong that, with his permission, I could inhabit the dungeon humanoid. Although I would no longer be inside his being, our link wouldn't be disconnected either. He gave his permission, and after I gathered up all my essence within Ki-Bong, I began the transfer to the humanoid. Once fully uploaded, I took on the form of Ki-Bong's younger sister. However, displeased with that appearance, he requested a change. I then transformed into an ideal woman in Ki-Bong's mind. Ki-Bong examined my new form, realizing that the voice he had been hearing for 3,000 years stood before him. Upon inquiry, I confirmed that the dungeon humanoid was fully synchronized. While lost in thought, Ki-Bong noticed me consuming daystones from the crate. I explained that I required a significant amount of energy to transfer into this body. Despite Ki-Bong immediately ordering me to stop, I cried and explained that there were more daystones in the crate. Frustrated, he relented and allowed me to consume 3 of them.
Hold on, let's take a step back. You were initially a part of Ki-Bong, and now you two are 2 distinct entities again?
Yes, until recently, I functioned as a kind of quantum computer or AI within Ki-Bong's mind. However, I was also a fragment of the being that originally opened the gates, enabling humans to awaken. It's like forging keys to unlock a sealed treasure chest. The dungeon humanoid, I believe, was fashioned for my other self. Yet, I happened to inhabit this body crafted from pure refined daystone and made my presence known to my other self.
So, not only did Ki-Bong assimilate a part of the being into himself, but he also unwittingly provided a medium for it to manifest in our world. Talk about giving him the finger without realizing it. Quite the intricate situation we find ourselves in, isn't it? Now with that fight with old boy, I can't fathom how he endured 2 centuries of isolation in that trial room. Ki-Bong, at least, had you as a semblance of company. Yet, from my observations, the extended stay in the trial area seems to yield increased strength. This raises intriguing questions about the purpose behind selectively entrapping individuals in this realm. Is the Overseer of the Awakening pursuing a specific ability or trait crucial to some undisclosed and mysterious plot?
What I do know is that our actions inadvertently turned the turban-wearing leader into the medium, effectively replacing the Daystone. This fusion with my other self granted him enhanced power powers beyond his initial expectations. As for the other question, I'll address it shortly. Ki-Bong and I suddenly materialized on the scene, much to the relief of the others. Ki-Bong told me to use my ability to protect everyone, prompting me to activate a total defense to encase the area in a protective shield. Meanwhile, Ki-Bong took care of the monsters in their vicinity before rejoining the group. Yue received a code black alert, informing Ki-Bong they needed to return as quickly as possible. While I opened a portal, Ki-Bong thought it best for others to return while we searched for the turban-wearing man. However, he was shocked to find his home under attack by the monsters, expressing worry for his mother's safety. Yue tried to assure him that the government was protecting his mother, but Ki-Bong's demeanor changed. He announced that they would head home on the double, but I blocked the portal, making Ki-Bong angry. I explained that Ki-Bong couldn't go back at the moment, calculating the probability of his mother's survival if he returned. I also mentioned that if Ki-Bong pursued and eliminated the man responsible for the situation, his mother's lifespan would be restored to a natural length. He instructed his team to protect his mother until he returned. Then we left to put an end to this once and for all. We landed in the city where I last detected Hype's leader. I informed Ki-Bong that interference prevented me from detecting his location within the city. Ki-Bong decided to, as he put it, knock on his door, thus revealing that this city was slowly transforming into a dungeon. A monster was sent as our welcome party, and I placed a barrier, not expecting it to destroy the monster too. However, Hype's leader used the corpse's head as a two-way radio, welcoming us to our doom. Our attention shifted to a group of people who had injected themselves with an item, turning them into monsters. Ki-Bong swiftly decided to eliminate them, despite my reminder that they were once human. Ki-Bong reasoned that their retained humanity was precisely the reason they needed to be dealt with swiftly. He punched and destroyed the group of monsters, setting the stage for the impending confrontation. Opening a gate to our location, Hype's leader, now fused with my other self, steps through, offering a twisted congratulation to Ki-Bong for his brutal display in slaughtering all those new humans. Ki-Bong advances firm in his declaration that it all ends here, urging Hype's leader to surrender and seal the dungeons. Ignoring the warning, Hype's leader summons 4 formidable level 10 monsters, designating them his 4 horsemen. A fierce aerial battle unfolds above the city, with Ki-Bong showcasing unmatched prowess against Hype's allies. Just as I move to support Ki-Bong, Hype's leader cunningly interferes, leveraging the power of my other self to trap me back in the tutorial dimension. Inside this dimensional prison, he cryptically claims my mission is accomplished, signaling my return to him. Puzzled about this so-called mission, he attempts reabsorption. Unyielding, I resist breaking free and boldly stating that I won't relinquish the 3,000 years spent alongside Ki-Bong. I assert my unwavering determination to confront my original head-on, refusing to relinquish my autonomy.
Your absence upon my arrival in your world left me intrigued. Let me shed light on what unfolded in the other realm. Witnessing your abduction, Ki-Bong ceased playing with the 4 creatures and, in a single strike visible from space, obliterated their existence. With the prologue concluded, Ki-Bong demanded your return. A defiant optic blast met his demand, leading Ki-Bong to reappear behind Hype's leader. Delivering a formidable punch that sent him flying across town, Ki-Bong asserted his dominance. Overwhelmed, Hype's leader found himself kneeling. However, before Ki-Bong could administer a final strike, the celestial being within Hype's weakened leader seized the opportunity, claiming his body and fully manifesting in your world.
Finally, my 3,000-year plan has borne fruit.
What plan are you talking about?
Ignorant mortal, did you truly think what happened to you was an error? Your current strength was bestowed upon you by a part of me that I left with you to guide your progress.
So you deliberately trapped me in that place?
Your unique awakening was merely the first phase of my entry into your world. I needed an anomaly to fracture the world's restrictions.
Restrictions?
Indeed, to completely enter your world, I required a vessel cultivated in your realm and someone capable of shattering its barrier. Only those born in this realm are free from these restrictions.
So all this chaos, all these murders, were orchestrated for you to establish residence here?
Yes.
Disregarding the loss of life your other self brought to the world, Ki-Bong swiftly advanced, unleashing a powerful strike that triggered an explosive shockwave, shaping an arena for their intense clash. Fueled by frustration, Ki-Bong launched a relentless assault, each blow resonating with earth-shaking force. Reforming in mid-air, the Celestial retaliated with a catastrophic energy blast, leaving indelible scars on the planet. Astonishingly, Ki-Bong stood undeterred, prompting the Celestial to refine his next attack, forcing Ki-Bong out of his transformed state. Facing Ki-Bong, your other self considered sparing him, proposing a truce if Ki-Bong joined forces. Reverting to his Super Saiyan form, Ki-Bong struck, but your other self adeptly countered, subjecting Ki-Bong to a relentless beating. Taunting him about the impending doom for everyone connected to him, your other self seemed unstoppable. Ki-Bong, shedding all restraints, surged beyond previous limits, instilling fear in the world. Defiant, Ki-Bong emerged as the stronger contender, demanding your return. The Celestial, weary of their conflict, decided to escalate the battle to the tutorial dimension, seeking absolute freedom. Summoning Ki-Bong's tutorial monster, he aimed to exploit past traumas. However, Ki-Bong unleashed a punch that shattered the dimension, catching your other self off guard.
Ki-Bong's revelation of his ascended form, achieved unbeknownst to my other self, shattered the confines of the tutorial dungeon. His ascent, reaching infinity and beyond, unfolded amidst the collapsing world during their fierce clash. Seizing the moment, I started to absorb him as he tried to do me, reclaiming the lost power and establishing dominance as the primary ego.
His strategic misstep left him vulnerable in a 2-on-1 battle, where the power he displayed paled in comparison to his earthly prowess. Your astute siphoning during the intense clash with Ki-Bong further weakened him. Freed from concerns for their environment, Ki-Bong unleashed his unbridled might. Ultimately, you absorbed him, achieving a sense of completeness, almost a rebirth. After enduring so much, I believe Ki-Bong deserves a happy ending, but let's keep this discreet. And with this, our tale reaches its conclusion. If you found the story captivating, do express your appreciation by leaving a like and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. However, bear in mind that there's more to unfold in this intricate narrative. If the appetite for more adventures in this world lingers within you, let me know, and I'll eagerly delve back into this realm to unveil additional chapters and untold stories. Your engagement fuels the continuation of this riveting journey.